A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 Freddy's Revenge 1985. Now, the first movie is clearly the larger artistic achievement. I think the second movie is more enjoyable. I found the first movie to be quite bland and plodding, and I just really did not enjoy it. I think the second movie was fairly entertaining. I actually quite liked it for the most part. I had certain expectations watching it for the first time. I knew what to expect, and I think having seen the clips and had people discuss these issues, that I was primed for something really quite terrible and problematic. And honestly, it was nowhere near as bad as its reputation suggested it would be. As far as a movie itself, it's okay. I think it holds together quite well for the first 50 minutes. Yes, they don't exactly follow the logic set out in the first movie, but I do think, in their defence, it was only part two. They didn't know about part three, four, five, six coming up. So you can kind of at least understand the thinking of the people who made the movie that, oh, we're going to go in this new direction with the story, with the character. It was obviously the wrong decision, but I understand how they came to that decision to some extent. But yeah, they do kind of overlook what made Freddy Krueger such an interesting character because he had these rules. He attacked and murdered teenagers in their sleep. Full stop. I mean, that's great. What they came up with in this sequel is the murders are happening in the real world via possession. Freddy's possessing the kid, and that's just not what the first movie was about, and what the subsequent franchise of the other parts. They did not go down that route, and it's very obvious why they didn't, because the dream stuff is so much more interesting than the possession in real life. So yeah, the movie overlooks what makes the character so interesting in the first place, which is a very strange thing for them not to understand the appeal of their own character. And the movie works okay anyway for about 50 minutes. It's not, I didn't feel any annoyance with the logic issues, with breaking the rules of the established franchise. It was fine. The movie moved along okay. It was not that bad. I honestly don't think it was all that gay. The yes, there are. If you're looking for, it's there. It's very in your face, and there are one or two lines or moments in it which are pretty inescapable. But I think, considering its reputation, it wasn't as heavy-handed as I expected, and really pushed in your face that much. Even like the silly dance sequence, which the actor himself really hates subsequently. Even that, within the context of the movie, it makes sense. You know, he is doing a silly dance, the movie, and the character knows it's a silly dance, and people walk in on him doing the silly dance, and he is embarrassed. So it's all, you know, it's not like the movie's treating him like, oh, he's really cool, he's doing a dance. The movie knows, oh, this guy looks like an idiot. So, so all of those kind of issues are don't really bother me. The movie falls apart though in the third act, the last 20 or so minutes. Basically, the party massacre. You can tell it's like the big cool set piece, a bit like the nightclub massacre in Hellraiser 3. The moment that's like, oh wow, can you imagine this cool horror character who's usually killing one person? Can you imagine him massacring 20 people at the one time? It's this really cool set piece action scene, and it'll just be amazing. But in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, the poolside massacre scene is, as a scene itself, it's very weak, and not very bloody, not many people die, and but the real problem with it is logic. It just totally breaks the logic of the Nightmare on Elm Street world, and it's just a really silly scene, and it, it's not filmed all that well, and it's put it this way, they're taking a character who's supposed to be scary, but in this context, running around a swimming pool with all these other teenagers who are taller than him, it does look a bit silly. It's not. It doesn't make Freddy Krueger look all that exciting and scary. It does not do that character any favours, and I think logic just sort of dissolves and becomes pretty weak. It goes from being, well, okay, the logic isn't great here, but I can accept it, to no, this is just plain silly. And how does Freddy Krueger get these powers? He seems to have some of the dream world logic powers. In the real world, dogs with human faces turn up. He's capable of making fireballs explode from out of nowhere. He can sort of suddenly fade away. He jumps through a window, and in the middle of it, jumping through the window, he disappears. And it's like, I don't understand, I don't follow the logic here. How does this happen? The male lead actor, he wasn't too bad. As an actor, he was actually pretty decent, I think, and he wasn't that terrible. But yes, there's no denying that the movie should have been cast with a woman in the lead role. It does feel a bit weird seeing a man in that type of role. It is very much a feminine role. I enjoyed it more than the first movie as a viewing experience, but it was my first viewing, so maybe if I'm watching it in future, I will be a bit more annoyed with it or more bored by it. But on first viewing, it was actually okay. It was kind of 6 out of 10 stuff for the first 50 minutes, but as it goes into the third act and logic and just general coherence starts to fall apart, it became quite weak. So I think overall I would give it 5 out of 10. It was okay, it was fairly entertaining, it was better made and better constructed and just a better movie than I expected based on its reputation, and it wasn't as daft as I expected. It wasn't too bad. It was certainly better than I expected. I really did expect a terrible movie, and it's also visually much lusher looking than I expected. I really did think it was going to look like bad TV from the 80s, but it actually does have a cinematic look for the most part. Uh, it could do with a higher body count. Not many people die in it. It wasn't all that bad. I didn't mind it. It's certainly not some great movie, but it's not too bad.